All right, I'm gonna show you why you don't want to use too much glue in an aquarium. This is about how much people oftentimes will add to an object. I'm gonna put this in here and I'm gonna show you what's gonna happen here in a little bit. We'll come back to that. Now let's talk about how you glue plants to a piece of wood or a rock or something like that. Now, oftentimes when you're gluing an aquarium plant, you're gonna glue a rhizome, because if you had a root feeder, you'd be putting it in the soil itself. But a rhizome plant like a Java fern or a Nubius like this one, they're gonna have something like this. This is actually the rhizome, or it might be a big ball like on the base of a Java fern. And when you're gluing, you've gotta make sure that you don't cover all this up or you're gonna starve the plant. So an extra thick super glue is the way to go, because it's not gonna get all runny and all over the plant roots or anything like that. It's also gonna stay put when you start to glue. And you're gonna want to, in this case with a rhizome, just put glue right along a side of it like this, not on the roots, again, not covering the rhizome, and then just stick it right here and hold on to it. You actually can add an Instaset activator as well. It's going to be safe for the plant, and that will instantly create a bond. All right, so the other option that you have with plants is actually to not glue them at all. And that's true with a rhizome just like this. So if I had a piece of spider wood like this, I might look to tuck the roots, not smash them, but just tuck them in a little bit of a pocket or a hole like this. And then they will take hold and they will actually grab onto that wood and they will stay put right there in your aquarium. All right, so sometimes you don't even have to glue at all. You can just use a green thread like this. You could use a black thread or something. It's gonna get covered by the plant. I prefer green thread because it doesn't show up right away. If I take something like this, right, I might not only take a rhizome piece if I wanted to put it up here, but I could also take something like this Monte Carlo, right? This is Monte Carlo from a tissue culture. You can see it's gonna be hard to have it stick here. I'm not gonna want to cover all of the roots with glue. So what I'm gonna do instead is I'm just gonna hold it right here, and I'm just going to give this thing a wrap around this piece. Just like this. And you can wrap it tight. You don't have to like tie a knot or do anything like that. It's going to stay there. And in a couple of weeks, you will not see any of this thread. It will start to take hold. It will even drape down, which will look beautiful. And any thread that you still can see, you can always come in and cut. All right, so the other thing that's super cool with Monte Carlo, especially you guys, is you can stick it up high. So if I had this in an aquarium and it was vertical like this, instead of putting down here on the base, which is also awesome, I can put it up here high or even in a spot like this and let it just wedge in there, and it will drape down like a curtain. Come with me for a second. Let me give you an example of exactly how I've done this here in our studio. Over here in this riverbed tank, we've really caked this thing with Monte Carlo, and it is beautiful. It is draping down. Our Amano shrimp are loving it. It's a really awesome environment for fish, and I love the curtain of roots and these beautiful green leaves that it's making. Sometimes when you're gluing your plants in your aquarium, what you're gonna find is, for whatever reason, you might see the glue or you might see the attachment, you might not exactly like how that looks. And the solve for that is, let's say that this is on here like this, and you can see the glue. What I would do in a situation like that is I would either grab Monte Carlo, like we were just talking about, and put it on here where you cover that glue spot, or even simpler, you can grab some Java moss or Christmas moss, and then you can throw that over here and really create a really cool look, and you'll cover your glue spot with that. So let me show you in this tank 2 plants that are not glued at all and how effective it is. This little Anubias Nana Petite right here, it is stuck between this rock and this piece of spiderwood. It is not glued. The roots have taken hold of the rock and the spiderwood, and it's pretty well wedged in there. Take a look at this. If I reached in and wanted to just pull this right out, you see I'm pulling on it and it's stuck. That's because the roots have already taken hold without any glue. This Java fern right over here, Java Windalev, it is also wedged right between these 2 pieces of wood, not glued in, and it is growing. As you can see, it's expanding. It's probably twice the size it was when I first put it in the aquarium. So again, you have all these options when it comes to attaching or putting plants in your aquarium with wood. All right, so now let's come back to this little jar. Now we put this glue on here and it has expanded. It has turned pretty white, and you can imagine that if you didn't hide the glue behind the object like a plant, this would be pretty unsightly. So expect that when you are putting a plant in an already existing aquarium, which is common and it's fun to do, you want to add to something, you want to add a plant to a piece of wood, you've got to know that that's what's going to happen to the glue. It's going to turn white, it's going to expand, and also it can get a little bit messy if you have too much and start to flake off. So here's how you avoid it and properly put a plant in an existing aquarium. We're going to take our rhizome again, and we're going to take this gel glue again. And now I'm going to put that gel glue right along this rhizome like this. And I'm just coming right along the side, making sure I'm not getting all over the roots or anything like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to eye my spot, okay? I know where I want to put this. I'm going to put this backwards like this so the roots come down behind the wood. And I'm going to go straight in and hold. And the reason why I go straight in and hold is because I want to make sure that I don't give that glue any time to start to flake off in the water. I also know that that water is going to activate that glue. It's going to start to make it harder and stickier. And if I don't get that plant on there quick enough, that glue is not going to stick. And after about 30 to 60 seconds, if you really want to be safe, you should be able to let go and your plant's going to be set. All right, so when it comes to gluing hardscapes together, it's a little bit of a different ballgame. We're gonna actually use some cotton to help us out with that because it's gonna help us create a super strong bond. Check this out. If I wanted to glue some cereus stone together, I would wanna do that not only to try to create a cool look or shape or possibly an arch like this, I'd also wanna do it for the safety of my inhabitants in the aquarium and to make sure that I don't create some structure that collapses and potentially breaks the glass or hurts a fish. So when you're gluing hardscapes together, a great way to do it is to use a cotton ball like this. I'm going to cut this just because I don't want to actually have a bunch of exposed cotton in the aquarium. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to put this where I want that bond to be. I'm going to take my gel glue and I'm going to first put that down. Then I'm going to put the cotton on top of it. And then I'm going to completely saturate. I'm even going to tuck some of that glue under there. I'm going to completely saturate this piece of cotton because my priority here, again, is to create essentially a shell over all this cotton of glue. That's going to not only create the strongest bond as it reacts with the cotton, but what it's also going to do is keep all that cotton out of the aquarium itself. So now that I have that there, then I'm going to attach my rock. And my goal here is to ideally hide as much of the cotton as I can when I'm doing this because it will be visible once it dries, but you'll find that plants and mosses and things like we showed earlier are going to be the ways in which you cover up those spots. All right, so once you've laid the glue down, having some accelerator with you is definitely the way to go if you don't want to hang out and hold down these pieces of hardscape for quite a while. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give that some shots here. I'm probably going to come back under here, give that some shots as well. It's okay to be generous with this. You're going to even see potentially a little smoke come off as that reaction takes place. And then in about 10 seconds or less, you've got a really strong bond. All right, so definitely only use the cotton when you're gluing rocks together. You don't need to do it and shouldn't do it when you're gluing plants to objects like rocks or wood because you have the potential of using too much glue or covering up the roots. And always make sure when you're using these tips and tricks and putting all of these things together that you're wearing gloves. We'll see you on the next one.